just be real.
Let's just be honest. Let's just be real. Yeah, let's just be honest.
Let's just be real.
We could be going through a spell of turbulence here. It's going to be fast and furious. These two play the game at a fast rate of knots, very aggressively. Lots of potting from distance.
First frame, Judd trump to break.
Basically, we're in for a whole lot of fun.
Turn the flash off that, please. Turn the flash off it.
One or two distractions, people just coming into the arena, and also a couple of flash cameras and all of that. I want to get a snapshot of these two very entertaining players. Oh, that's a great shot. Those two reds are a long way apart. I wasn't entirely sure he was playing it. And it was the kind of plant he didn't have to play. That's a tremendous shot.
And also a strange shot because the one red into the other one actually kicked. There you see it. The cue ball was okay, but then when he played the blue, that kicked.
Yeah, that's not, doesn't bode well, does it?
6.
Kicks already. Anyhow, we'll try and pretend it never happened for now. Nothing worse than talking about those sort of things.
Seven.
Just trying to get a feel of the table, isn't he? And of course he would have been on the practice table, which I'm sure is very good, but the match table always more responsive than anything you can recreate in a practice area. I have to say that the business of over the cue, I think the cue he's using is one that he had once
14.
or has previously used, and it makes a funny noise. I think there's something loose in it, and I think that was mentioned
Luca
by
Brecel,
Luca, because that was a very tinny sound when he hit it with power.
Yes, the cue he has been using to such great effect was a Maximus cue, and they're sending a couple more over next week for the Shanghai Masters, so this is only a temporary measure. Oh, what a shot from Trump. What a shot.
Absolutely, that was sublime cueing. I think this is already a different match to the previous one in the few shots we've seen, given that we know that they're both ultra attacking, and occasionally you might see a shot played with some risk attached, but these guys don't seem to worry too much about that. And he finished perfectly on the blue. Now, does he want to go into this bunch or not? I think he's a little worried about plants to the right corner, reds that might have ended up in a corner pocket. And that's why he played the shot he did, albeit not very well.
6.
Short of pace. And of course here he really can cue down on it as much as he likes. But he can't avoid going into the bunch. For now there's something flying around in here apparently.
I think it's that glitter ball. You can see it at the corner of his eye.
Maybe
I don't think it's normally turning.
Well, there you have it, the glitter ball.
Do you just want to give it a second? We'll see if we can get it.
Every time I get film, the reflection from me goes over there, bounces over.
Yeah. He's going to try and get it turned off now for us anyway.
It's a new one on
Take a
me,
light
the
off.
glitter ball putting a player off. Never used to happen in my day, Phil. No glitter balls at
Turn the
snooker
light off it
tournaments,
now,
nothing
so-
like that.
Your snooker was glittering, but
I don't know. Well, you're as ever very kind. It's the only way you know, Phil, you're a kind man. Well, whatever, I have to say, whatever it was, it did affect him on that shot.
1.
Brecel's had no previous success against Trump. They've played twice before. Actually, both matches over this very distance, the best of 7. Trump won 4-1 in a small
6.
event in 2012, 4-0 in the first round of the Players' Championship in 2015. These days, though,
7.
Brecel is a very different animal to that.
Well, he's actually the leading money earner on the ranking list of the season. And that includes Mark Selby, who's just won the previous event. Picked up over £200,000 already this season, so technically the top dog in the game.
14.
Do well to keep that up for the remainder, given some of the huge prize funds we've got to come. But we are into November, we've had a lot of tournaments. He should be very proud of what he's achieved so far. A big improver.
Yes, and we're going to see an awful lot of him on ITV as the season progresses, because he's already done enough to be in the World Grand Prix and
50.
the Players' Championship as well.
Well, the thing about being in those two events, qualifying for the Preston Llandudno events that you just mentioned, means that you've got a chance to really pull away from people around you in the ranking list. And it's big time, isn't it, getting in that, moving into a very high position on the list.
21. $22.
Well, it's a good shot, but he'll take another one here to keep the break going. Does he go pink down the end or in the middle is the next question. Goodness, what a shot this is. What a shot. Oh, he doesn't hang around. He's very unlucky there. I mean, anything could have gone in his favour.
28.
Very belligerent player, isn't he?
$29.
Well, the break is getting more and more difficult by the shot now. Pressure's starting to mount. Even he can't pop balls all the time from impossible positions. I think the blue is the best option to get round for a red, but it's missable.
$34. $35.
Yes, the cue doesn't sound healthy, but the pots are finding the target. It's been a real cavalier break, this.
Yeah, the cue ball's done some miles, isn't it, already in this? And how's he going to keep it going? This is even more difficult to get onto a red than anything previously. Looks like he's heading in somewhere towards the green in potting this. And you have to cue down on it to avoid that. Couldn't avoid it under any circumstances. Well, this time
40.
it's getting even more awkward. There's one red that cuts in, I think, to the right corner. Well, even he couldn't
Luca
continue
Brecel,
any further
40.
in that break. was an extraordinary break of 40. 8 good pots.
We've already seen a display of Brecel's potting prowess, which makes it even more remarkable that, you know, he's never made a 50 break against Trump. Six reds, and therefore plenty of points left on the table for Trump to pull this one out of the fire. But where they're placed, the hand of Brecel is powerful indeed.
And quite cleverly played, though, I think, Phil. He knew the cue was setting somewhere in behind the green, taking on that red. But it is a very healthy lead. You're absolutely right. All those reds on cushions.
Well, this is a needless 4 points given away.
And a miss. To Trump 4.
Now can Trump squeeze past that red to the other one, into the yellow bag? Well, he can, but there's no value in it because it's dead straight.
No, there's not a lot of value in anything here. Putting it back, I don't suppose, means a lot because Luca will probably get the shot second time, and it's a bit of a waste, really. Well, surely he hasn't stuck the red over the middle, has he? That is an amazing way to leave a red on. Yeah, well, he could have played that 100 times and he would have left the red once, I think.
One.
Another brilliant pot. Again, the cue ball has got a mind of its own.
5.
I think it was easier to put it in the middle, wasn't it, in the corner, Phil?
Well, two things from that.
Luca
One is that
Brecel
Brecel is clearly going for everything and trying to play to his strengths. The other thing, because he hit that ball very hard, the tinniness of the cue was horrible.
I'm sure he's a very difficult person to play, actually, given that he's fairly unpredictable. You wouldn't be certain that you'd ever keep him safe. Might play a safety shot, walk back to your chair in the knowledge that you've got your opponent in trouble, and the time you look round, he's not one in.
That's the agenda when you're 49 points ahead with a limited number of reds on the table. Just get a couple safe, make life difficult for the chaser.
Yes, and in turn, Judd Trump getting the black into play, which is what he needs.
Well, yesterday, especially in the shape of Sean Murphy, we saw some absolutely stupendous play with the rest, and that was right up there as well. He actually got a little too much action on the cue ball for his own good.
Could hardly have finished anywhere worse, actually, in that part of the table. Well, one more red, and he'll try something here to the left corner, one of the top of the two red, the top one, I think. And for once he misses by a way.
Luca Brecel, 3.
Yes, and for all the potting that Brecel has done in this frame, the difference 52, 59 on, so if Trump can get in, he's got a little bit of leeway in terms of the colours he can pot.
It's a very good safety shot. Played with a touch of left-hand side as well. Covered everything.
Foul and a miss.
The intention there was to try and just flick off the red closest to the pink and take the cue ball back into bulk. But quite clearly, from the nature of the shot, Neil, very little to aim for.
I don't think he can afford to play the same shot again, because if he does miss this time, he needs a snooker. So he has to make more guaranteed contact with the red, even if he potentially sticks one. I don't see how he can play the same shot.
Okay, Luca.
No, appears he's going to.
Foul.
Well, he went the other way and went too much. That was pink first.
Luca Brecel 6.
And all of a sudden, the frame barring snookers is over.
One.
Doesn't he pot some balls, Luca Brecel? That puts the topper on it. Guaranteed now to win.
Five. Luca Brecel 5 on the frame.
Snooker-wise, they broke the mould when they made him. He's unconventional, but in that frame, very, very effective. Luca Brecel leads Judd by a frame to 0. The finest flower of Belgian snooker is at the table at the moment, about to break off in frame number 2 in this first round match.
Second frame. Luca Brecel to break.
In the 188 bet, champion of champions. I'll tell you what, Neil, I'm sure you'll agree, 2017 has been the best ever year for snooker in continental Europe, apart from his success. Switzerland's Alexander Ersenbacher made the semi-finals of the recent English Open.
Yes, Ersenbacher looks a very good prospect as well. And
but I like a challenge. And I think armed with that kind of attitude, it can only be a good thing.
now he's in amongst them with a proper chance. Let's see how his cue ball control is, because we know that isn't his strong suit.
9.
Let's be honest, if you can pop the way he does, it isn't quite so important. That was well played.
16. 17. 24. 25. 30. 31. 38. 39.
This is a very promising start to the match. The first frame, we know the balls didn't really go in very orthodox positions, but he potted his way out of trouble.
45.
This has been a better break.
46.
And there I was saying that Brecel had never made a half century against Trump before. He has now.
Yeah, and that was a good shot as well, Phil, to single out that middle red. He's a quick player.
54.
4 minutes into the frame, and it's not over yet, but it's not a million miles away from being so.
$59.
Quite get to the point where Judd doesn't know what's hit him yet, but
60.
he's not really had many chances. I think you got a glimpse of the angle there, and it looks to be the natural angle is to screw into that right hand red of the two near the cushion. He doesn't really want that to happen. No, safe option, I think. Red to the middle.
67. $68.
Well, so far in this tournament, we've had several frames over 40 minutes, lots of them over half an hour. This one basically is in the books after 5 minutes. Drago-esque.
74. 75. $82. 83.
He's going to make a century. Might push this left-hand red off the cushion now. That's a great shot. Beautiful. Very impressed so far.
89.
Might be not be so worried about that cue staying
90.
in China. Leave it over there. This one's all right that he's using now. The other one was all right as well, by the way, but he just looks absolutely fine out there. It's a lovely break.
95.
Purposely
96.
finishing short on this. And he may have an angle to pop this, get the century, and then get the red into play. I don't know if it's on or not. Off multiple cushions, maybe. I would never write him off cutting anything. This would be probably the shot of the tournament so far if it goes in, though.
103.
Do not put it past him.
Foul. Luca Brecel 103, Judd Trump 4.
Both balls off the table, but both
Luca
frames have been won by Luca Brecel in very impressive fashion. 2-0. Welcome back to the Ricoh Arena in Coventry. It's day 3 of the Champion of Champions, and Belgium's Luca Brecel leads Judd Trump 2-0, potting everything in sight.
Okay, Judd. Frame 3. Judd Trump to break.
Just one footnote on the previous frame. Brecel's century was his 10th of the season in professional competition, and that's already more than he made throughout the entire 2016-2017 campaign. 75th of his professional career. He's a player on the up.
That's the one way to stop him. He's covered most of these reds here. He's playing with a touch of swerve, trying to bend it around the the yellow. Lucky.
One.
Oh, it was stroked in majestically, and Cuba didn't travel all that far down the table, so he's got a shot possibly to pick out a single red to finish on, or get into the bunch. Those choices. Plays the green, he won't be going into the bunch, I don't think. There is a bottom red that actually pots the right corner, and he spotted it.
Four. Five.
Trump's placed this tournament very much on his wish list.
I think he missed the cannon on the two reds below the bunch. I think he tried to hit the left-hand one and be on the other one there.
12.
It's pointing into the break, I suppose, but again, his safety will have to be immaculate.
Judd Trump 12.
Yes, he was saying that he doesn't think as though over his career he's done himself justice in the game's big invitation events like this and the Masters, and he wants to start putting that to rights. Under pressure immediately, though.
Yes, this is very much a tournament that all the leading players would like to win. Oh, he's pushed that, played it with right hand side, went to the left. Even Stephen Hendry, I heard him saying the other day, this would have been on his list of tournaments to pick up. Of course, it didn't exist back then, although he used to win most things. Hardly anyone else would have been in it.
One.
Well, he's away again. What can he do? The table is not quite as open as it was in the previous frame when he got that chance.
7.
Well, he doesn't deserve that red to cover the other one. And he's not on the red to the right corner either.
12.
That was a bit unfortunate. He tried a good shot there, positive shot. Not seen him knock in a plant, but this is, I think, even more difficult than the previous one. The reds are not lined up to the pocket. Not a great end to the break,
Luca
but he was
Brecel,
unlucky
12.
to be in that position. Well, that's twice now. Judd has played that shot as you do, with it a touch of helping side, left-hand side. He's pushed it thick. And that's a very common thing for a player to do when he's not quite at his best, not timing the ball as they can.
One. 7. 8.
Slight angle on this.
$14. 15. 22. 23.
Looks to me like he enjoys playing snooker. I know that sounds obvious for these guys who play for a living, and not everyone does, but there's an element of fun and enjoying the way he strikes the ball. Next shot down
30.
the cushion, he's got the angle.
31.
Doesn't look like the game's a chore. Looks like it's a bit of an adventure for him. That's a good shot. That's really opened things up. Makes him a dangerous player, Phil, if he's got that kind of happy-go-lucky attitude to the game, would you say?
Well, I think this season, leaps and bounds,
39.
Brecel has come on. The victory, obviously, in Guangzhou was massive for him. Not just the victory itself, but the way it was achieved. He came back from 4-1 down in the quarterfinals to beat Ronnie O'Sullivan 5-4, then beat Sean Murphy
46.
in the final. That after a win over Marco Fu a little earlier on in the event. I think after that he felt as though
47.
he belonged at the top table of snooker, and he's proving it here.
Judd has missed a couple,
54.
but he's been doing a lot of sitting down during this match. It's another frame in the bag.
55.
Yes, that ranking tournament victory beat Sean Murphy in the final.
60.
This match is taking shape of another match where he beat Sean Murphy over in Belfast
61.
in the Home Nations last year. Completely wiped him out 4-0. Murphy potted about 2 balls. It's like this, what we're seeing today. It's very much one-way traffic.
66. 67.
And on that Murphy connection, Sean made 3 consecutive centuries last night against Michael White.
73.
We could see back-to-back centuries here from Brecel quite
74.
easily. In fact, we should do.
$78.
Yeah, call off the search for the other cue that's
80.
lost.
$83.
Yes, Brecel has gone back to the original,
87.
like one of those professional golfers who unearths an old putter in the garage and starts holding everything.
92.
Rekindling magic with an old friend. An absolutely huge cheer goes up around this Rico Arena with every justification. Luca Brecel on fire. Luca Brecel has been straining at the leash. He wants to break off in this fourth frame and keep up the marvellous run of form he's been producing.
The fourth frame. Luca Brecel to break.
And I'm just thinking, you know, for all of his abundant skill, and let's face it, Trump is one of the elite players in the game, he has been prone to the odd whitewash over the years. Michael Wilde, an unknown, beat him in the first round of the International Championship in 2015, 6-0. He was whitewashed earlier this season as well in the World Open by Sam Craigie. Again, not the most well-known player, and now he's on the verge of defeat here.
Yeah, not only that, Phil, it's just the way it's happened. I mean, it's been something of a landslide up until now. Obviously, he's not won yet. A lot of players say the same thing about best of sevens. You go 3-0 down and you're not out of it. I think he thought that one was in. So 3-0 down, you're not out of it, but he probably feels out of the match because he's hardly had a look. A bit slower, that would have dropped. It's a sense of frustration in that shot. There's no way he played it twice across, in my opinion. Getting a little bit of his own medicine here, isn't he? And that, you know, Judd can overwhelm a player with amazing pots. He's getting the treatment.
You're right, though. What he's got to tell himself is that if he can get into overdrive, this match is recoverable.
Nine.
Well, I'm sure Trump is really surprised that he's got on the incorrect side of the blue, because that was a limited angle.
$14.
That was a really good shot, and to finish below the black means he's got options here to get into the bunch. Oh, he's played that so positively. He's got one, but
22.
Wished he got something a lot easier to the middle bag, especially with the red over the pocket next to the cue ball if he misses. That's a very good shot under the circumstances. Could have been his last shot of the match had he missed it. Not an easy game anyway, this snooker, is it? But you sit out back-to-back centuries.
28.
And the pockets surely seem a lot smaller when you do get back to the table.
29.
It always had the makings, this match, didn't it, of a mouth-watering affair. Two players that only know one way, and that's to entertain.
33. $34. $36.
playing with power. Just a little
Trump,
bit of movement in the
36.
shoulder I detected, and that was a surprise.
It really was a surprise, Phil. I couldn't agree more. He was going along okay, and then that. And he's got to finish the job off here, Luca Brecel, and as we know, it's a cliche, but you have to get over the line. This is a big player in Judd Trump that he's up against here, that he's looking to beat, which will be for the first time. Now, is there a red to the middle that goes? The middle
8.
one in the bunch of 4, yes, it goes.
9.
Too much on it. A little bit of extra edge on this shot. Really well played.
Just thinking back to
16.
the old days when a player was forced to use an unfamiliar cue, it was regarded as the death knell, wasn't it? Not anymore.
17.
Not anymore.
I think this is his old cue, isn't it? So that little bit of muscle memory or whatever you want to call it is still there. And like I say, there's nothing wrong with the cue. That it might not sound great, but the
22.
end result's been marvellous today. He's played exceptionally well here.
23.
Got to miss the bold colours. Effortless.
28. 29. 36.
And as you pretty much worked out for yourself, that was an error. And he had quite a wide margin there. He could overhit that and finish considerably up the table. And now this is a thin cut. It's a great asset to be able to pop balls in the way that Luca Brecel is capable of. Calculated risk, get the red in play, and that is another brilliant shot.
Given the
42.
occasion, given the importance, given the opponent, I think this is the best I've ever seen him
43.
play.
A few people were surprised that Luca won his first ranking event. And they said, well, I didn't know he was going to be good enough to do that. I heard that said. And that is nonsense. He is a very fine
46.
talent. And he plays the game his own way. You know, he's a maverick, isn't
47.
he? An age where people think there's only one way to win, all about technique and all of these things. He did it his way.
54.
It's a good way.
55.
Looking at the scoreboard, that will tell him just blue and yellow is needed.
Yes, and he's not quite right on this. If he plays to hold, it's not easy. If he comes around the table, he's got to avoid the colours. Oh, yes. That's a fantastic shot.
60.
Playing match ball left-handed.
62.
If you're not impressed by this, then you don't
65.
like snooker. It's been different class.
I know, Neil, you've seen him wipe away opponents of
69.
high quality in the past, but as I said before, given the prestige of the champion of champions and the phenomenal skill and the status of Trump in the game, this has got to be right up there with his best ever performance.
Luca Brecel take a bow. What a performance this is. And a very different test awaits him tonight against Mark Selby, but
80.
he can win. He can beat the world champion.
Judd well and truly trumped. The Belgian was brilliant. What a scoreline and what a way to achieve it. It was over in no time, 50 minutes. Luca Brecel whitewashes Judd Trump 4-0.
Well, for the first time, the young Belgian has defeated the world number 3, Judd Trump, 4-0. He marches into tonight's group final against the world number 1, Mark Selby. Let's get some more reaction to that performance after this short break.